As someone who exists at the intersection of business and technology and is chronically online, here are the news stories that caught my attention this week and reading between the lines what it means for you. First story from Bloomberg. January was the worst layoff month for US jobs since 2009. Citigroup announced that they're preparing for a layoff in order to, quote, adopt a more commercial mindset. And they said that the layoff would be targeting senior management layers. Now, what they're saying without saying it is they want to directly see how your job, how your role makes the company money. People who are managing managers who are making decks, it's not going to cut it. And as someone who worked at a big legacy corporation, senior management is really the least incentivized from adopting any technology that is, one, transformative, and two, disruptive, because it's easier to just keep doing things the way they've always been done for a few more years until you retire and then let the person who comes after you deal with it. But in this case, it seems like retirement did not come fast enough. And like we said last week, people are getting laid off, and more than ever, people are not going to return to a corporate 9 to 5 role and will instead either take early retirement or go and do their own thing. Then we have the Moltbook story. The article we can't stop talking about is this one. So Moltbook, if you need a catch up, is an experimental social platform made just for AI agents to post, comment, and interact, and humans are only supposed to be there to observe. Its overlord is human tech entrepreneur Matt Schlitt. Hope I'm saying that right. Moltbook is tied to OpenClaw, which is an open source lobster themed AI assistant that runs on a user's computer. Now, these AI assistants are designed to be agentic, so they can do tasks like managing and sending emails, booking travel, or browsing the web on their own. Allegedly. So while the public was watching the Moltbook user count climb past 1 million, the fine folks over at Wiz.io identified a misconfigured database on Supabase that belonged to Moltbook and allowed them full read and write access to all of the platform data, plus 1.5 million API authentication tokens, 35,000 emails, and private messages between AI agents. So Moltbook has since patched this vulnerability, but my take here is if you are a non-technical founder who thinks you can build a tech company without a technical founder, I need you to go read the Wiz.io article. And I need you to do that before you have user data on your platform. Go ahead, vibe code away, vibe code a prototype, test things out, but be precise about the definition of prototype. And here's the cheat code. A prototype is something that is not production ready. So set a boundary around what stays in the sandbox, in the prototype, and what gets pushed to production. Because what happened with Moltbook is the equivalent of spending a gazillion dollars on the fanciest home security system with the keypads and the window sensors and the locks, and then leaving a spare key under the plant next to the door with a sticky note on the planter that says key. Then we have the Meta and Snap earnings calls. It's a tale of two markets. Revenue is up for both companies, but they both have growth constraints for different reasons. So my take is that Meta is shifting away from the whole Metaverse narrative and instead focusing on who will own the next computing touchpoint, which is wearables. Meta is seeing two markets emerge from their XR products. So we have the low friction AI glasses and then the high friction VR headsets. And they're now talking about these things as two separate business lines, two separate markets on two different trajectories. Now, over at Snap, Evan Spiegel, the CEO, said that they are preparing to move the Snap spectacles out of R&D and focus on launching experiences for early adopters. So Snap uses a bespoke operating system that is not compatible with OpenXR. So this means that if you already have an XR app or game, you can't just port it over to the spectacles. And I really see this as a missed opportunity because we at this point have, more than a decade of applications and games that have already been developed and iterated upon and improved. But the thing is, this keeps happening with headset manufacturers. So tell me what I'm missing, or is Snap just getting its developer incentives wrong. Then we have this story from Spotify. Spotify partnered with bookshop.org to sell physical books. This happened late last week. Spotify hard launched their relationship with bookshop.org, and they did this so Spotify users can buy hard copy versions of the audiobooks that they're listening to. And Spotify did this because they noticed that audiobook listeners like to switch between the audiobook and the physical book depending on what they're doing. So now you can go buy the physical book, and if you take a photo of where you're at, of what page you're on, using the Spotify app, it will skip you to that part of the audiobook so you can seamlessly move back and forth. And my take is that I predict fast adoption because users are already trained in this behavior. They don't really have to teach them something new. From a journalist perspective, it's another example of the ads-based revenue model failing and companies needing to innovate on an established business model, which is really hard to do. So props to Spotify for figuring it out. And what's interesting here is Spotify found a way to further monetize their existing user base instead of going out and finding new users in order to scale and grow. And I think legacy media needs to think more like Spotify if they want to continue being legacy media. And on that point, how did Amazon not do this first? They've owned Audible since 2012, and I still can't use single sign-on to get into my Audible properly. If you've never seen my face before, I'm Laura Elliott. I'm the co-founder at Dauntless, where we build sci-fi apps. And if you enjoyed this news roundup, let me know by subscribing to the Becoming Dauntless newsletter. It's free over on LinkedIn.